Greetings friends and welcome to another video on this YouTube channel. Today I am here very excited because finally Veeam version 13 it's out. In this case it's the software appliance as well as service provider console version 9 and Veeam 1 version 13. But this video is just all about Veeam backup and replication version 13 aka Veeam Software Appliance VSA. So this is a major, like super major step forward, right? So this new appliance, it's pre-built, it's pre-hardened, it's predictable, it's all in one. By the way, it just works out of the box. And yeah, it's on this video we are going to dig deep into how to deploy it using the ISO in this case. Although the OVA is exactly the same or even simpler, right? Because it's just you import it through vCenter and next, and that's it, right? The ISO file gives us a bit more options in terms of using other hypervisors to deploy Veeam Backup and Replication version 13. Well, in this case, Veeam Software Appliance version 13. Plus, of course, the ISO allows us to install it on physical servers as well, which I don't have any currently in the moment. So, what's new of this release? It's absolutely a must read. It's like a 25 pages or more, full of new functionality, new features that they are absolutely game changing. Like for example, the enhanced RBAC as well is one of my favorites. The single sign-on, the Veeam Intelligence comes as well within the release. There are many platforms as well coming within this version 13, and I think it's time for us to dig deep into how to deploy this software appliance using the ISO, as I mentioned. So if we just go into our lab, anywhere, especially the ISO file, right? So create a new virtual machine. Here I will click next. I will introduce the name of this VM, Veeam Software Appliance version 13. And then from here, I'm going to select this folder. And from here, we can always select like a compute resource or just the cluster itself. Here we need to put it into a data store with enough space. So it requires 2 disks of 240 gigs. Of course, we can use thin deployment. Okay, put Linux here, Rocky Linux. And from here, I'm going to use something like 8 virtual CPUs and 16 gigs of RAM. Probably this is close to the minimum. So just take a look into the documentation. 240, as I mentioned, for the operating system as a thin provisioning. And we need another device, another hard disk, another hard drive of 240 gigabytes thin provision as well. In my case, I don't have enough space to do all of this, thick. Plus, it's not going to use all of that from the start. Okay, I'm just putting it working. Let's mount the ISO file. I have it here under my inside my Veeam folder, inside Veeam Backup and Replication, inside version 13. And finally, here it is, the ISO file, 12 gig. Let's mount it. And okay. Things that we can check. Let's see, the SATA controller is really for the CD drive. We have a Paravirtual for the disks, which of course performs much better. And inside the VM options, we have something that is called boot options and VMware tools. Yeah, inside VMware tools, we are synchronizing the time with the host, which is good. And now we click next and finish. If we're happy with what we have created. So remember, 2 disks of 240 gig each. Thin provisioning. Let's boot up this new appliance. This is very exciting. I'm using the remote console instead of the web console. I don't know. I kind of like it more. The font is a bit better, and it's I think it displays how it should be displayed, right? So I really like this. Let's put a bit of the dark mode so we just focus on the on this window here. We can install Veeam Backup and Replication, Enterprise Manager, or enter into the UEFI, and then let's click here into install because this is the first time I'm installing this software appliance version 13, so I do not need to do any reinstall of the appliance. I'm going to accelerate this process because it took on my lab around 14 minutes, 1/4. So yeah, instead of having you waiting here, seeing how automatically installs absolutely all of the packages that it requires, I think I rather prefer to use this time to discuss about how amazing it's to have next, and the appliance is ready, right? So Veeam backup and replication, pre-hardened, completely secure, it's there. So again, that took on my lab around 14 minutes. I have NVMEs and etc. Maybe on real hardware it will take maybe even less time, but around that time it's perfectly fine, right? You don't need to oversight much. Let's okay, this is the licensing part. Let's click into accept. Here is the part of the host name. I will recommend you to add this host name, the host name that you pick here, into DNS. Added it later on. If you had DHCP, perhaps he will create all of this for you, the DNS and so on. But anyways, I'm going to use a static. So this is very important to remember the IP. Once again, to add it perhaps later on into your internal DNS, so other components can talk to the FQDN of this Veeam backup and replication server, right? One of those components, for example, can be Veeam1. We're going to discuss that on another video. And you can see I'm using an internal DNS because I have an internal DNS. If you don't have an internal DNS, that's okay. I'll show you in another video. We're going to dig deep into the DNS configuration part into this appliance. The NTP is quite important, right? So the time is not accurate. I need to put it in the place where I am. So that's London. You can always change the NTP, add your own NTP, internal NTP, and so on. We can sync it in the case that, of course, the network configuration you selected before, it has access to the internet. You'll be able to synchronize here. Okay, let's click next. And then we need to put a password here, very secure password, configure the two-factor authentication. We need another password for the security officer as well. Both needs to be very secure. And as you have seen, I have configured already the multi-factor authentication on the host administrator Veeam admin. Once we try to do other operations like elevated operations with the security officer, that account requires a different user and password. We will see that at the end of this video as well. Okay, let's enter into the normal Veeam backup and replication web UI, which is the day-to-day operations. So with Veeam admin, and then from here we'll be able to see this is okay. It's installing already the required components. Okay, that's nice. It's finishing the whatever it needs to do before allowing me to come into the UI. That's fine. All components have been upgraded with warnings. Probably the warning is because I might have some updates. Let's install a license file over here. And now that's okay. I have a license key and it is valid. From here we can now that we have the license, I guess our next step is let's take a quick walk around jobs, backups, repos, proxies. You see I have one repository here, which is that second disk that I selected. We have one proxy, which is this own server itself. We have managed servers empty for now. We will need to come back into this in a minute to add our vCenter. All the managed servers, we have, of course, the Veeam backup and replication itself. Under Veeam1 section, that's very nice. It's to get the Veeam1 to enable this integration. We'll see that on another video, not in this video. If we go into jobs and we try to create one, we will face a problem because we do not have a vCenter, right? So I think under managed servers, let's go at our own vCenter here. So virtualization platforms, VMware vSphere. And from here, you see, this is very important. Now I'm using an FQDN for the vCenter. And if the Veeam backup and replication, the software appliance does not have a proper DNS, it will not be able to resolve that, right? You can use IPs, yes, but I would strongly recommend you to have all the DNS properly configured. Anyways, let's add the Veeam the vCenter over here. Let's click next. Let's take a look into the SSL certificate. Yeah, that's nice. By the way, it's going to expire soon, for what I can see there. It says on the 11th of this month, September. So I will need to renew that certificate using the CLI. I have accelerated this. It took maybe 1-2 minutes, so not much really in reality. And now from here, it took another 1-2 minutes, but instead of keeping you waiting here, I think it was better to accelerate this process, right? And it's try to build all of this as well at the same time. And now it's collecting the disks and volumes info. Let's take a quick look of what it's doing over here. And then let's give it some time until this finishes. It's going to about to finish soon. Okay, everything is ready. Let's click OK on here on the button. And now we do have the Veeam backup and replication plus this vCenter. Now we can create finally our backup job. So let's call it VMware backup job. Probably we can put some Linux VMs because I do have they're a bit smaller, these Linux VMs that I have in mind to start using this. Let's create a job like this because later on in Veeam, if not, it might be a bit confusing. Okay. The wizard is exactly the same as it was before, but of course in HTML, so it's very nice. Everything, folder, cluster, host, resource pool, virtual machine, and we can always select by vSphere tags and so on and so forth, right? So from here, you can see that it's pulling down the structure of the vCenter itself. I think this is taking some time, perhaps because it has not collected yet the whole tree, right? So I'm just doing everything too fast. Probably on the next time you create a backup job, this is going to perform much faster, right? It's just it might not have that the cache of the tree itself that usually Veeam has. Anyways, I can select them here manually, like for example uptime Kuma and maybe some Nginx, maybe even the. Let's take a look here from the low resource. Yeah, one Nginx VM, then maybe the PHP IPAM, maybe that's another good candidate to select from here. Yeah, that's nice. The backup proxy, I just have one backup proxy for now, and I have just the default backup repository, which comes with the Veeam backup and replication, the VSA itself. Nothing fancy. Of course, not recommended to keep long backups there into that disk. But anyways, it's always hardened in any case, so you cannot do things like deleting backups that without authorization and so on and so forth, right? So, okay, let's run the job automatically. But I would recommend you to, as soon as we finish with the tutorial or with the first taste, to start adding dedicated proxies. We will see that on another video. And of course, adding dedicated backup repositories separate from this appliance itself, right? So you can always rebuild faster. Okay, I said to run the job. I do not see any refresh or anything to trigger the job itself. I think it's running. In any case, let's go back into a few tabs. Yeah, it's running. So now we can click into the details, and the details. It's very similar to how it was before, but a few important changes are visible here. So, for example, I think I see the job view and the workload view because that's how Veeam is doing it for all of these years, right? It had like a two views in one. When you click on the VM or on the workload, you could see what the workload was doing itself, right? And if you click out of that before, you will see another view, but it was not a toggle itself. It was just embedded within the experience, and it was perhaps a bit confusing. But now there is a clear toggle on the top, so you can just move between the job or the workload view, right? So this is called, by the way, like the job session, or for the workload sessions, that those are called backup sessions themselves, right? So there are at the moment 3 backup sessions happening concurrently. And then from here, we'll be able to see on the top right protection overview. That is a widget which is going to tell you how good you've been doing this protection overview for this job itself, for this session, right? And then the job session results, which of course it will have statistics for all of this. So I think it's going a bit slow, and I'm concerned maybe I will need like a dedicated proxies to do this on those other hosts, or I will troubleshoot later on. But I have a VM that I'm 100% positive that is working within the backup, so I changed the job quickly on the background. So you can see that my Nginx5, it was processed. It just took like less than a minute. Here we can see the statistics, and now within the overview, we can see clearly the statistics about backups created, protected workloads, the top repositories by consumption. I just have one, total sessions, infrastructure health, and so on and so forth, right? I think it's a good time to take a quick look into the host management as well, so we can see what is within that view. Let's take a quick look now. So in order to go to the host management, there is 2 ways, right? We can just access directly through the correct port, or directly from this Veeam backup and replication, or directly from here, we can just go over here into configuration, inside the about, and then there is a link which says the host management interface. And if we click, then it opens. Let's take a quick look at the URL. So you can see it's the 10443. That is the URL. And here we do have 2 logins. We will have the Veeam admin itself, which with the user and password that we have defined before, with multi-factor authentication. That was what it appeared within the install of the Veeam Software Appliance. And then we do have as well the security officer, right? The security officer, the first time you log in into the security officer with the password that we have selected within the first wizard as well, is going to ask you to change that password, and is going to ask you to configure multi-factor authentication. Let's take a look and let's log in as a normal Veeam admin on here, right? So we'll put here Veeam admin, and then we put the password. That's the multi-factor authentication I'm talking about. We have configured at the beginning of the video, and I'm doing it here in real life with you. So let's go over here into my authenticator, and then I'm going to scroll, and I have here the multi-factor authentication. So what can you do directly from the Veeam host management console, right? A completely separate console from the day-to-day. So from here, you can change your password. You can request root access as well. You will be able to see the certificate thumbprints from here. Last login, by the way, some networks, and NTP. Let's take a quick look into the network, for example, right? So on network, we can see if it's added into the domain or not, the Veeam backup and replication. It's only required for specific operations, so that it's all within the documentation. So if you require some of those specific operations, add it into the domain. If you don't need any of those, I will totally recommend not to add it into the domain. But in any case, now everything is pretty hardened, and there is no risk to really happen anything from these boxes towards the domain controller. But anyways, up to you. And the DNS fixes, the host name as well, that you can change at any time. Remember about, if you change it here, change it into the DNS server in the case that you're using all of the DNSs. You can change, or you can take a look and change the time zone as well from here, and add more NTP servers. Remote access, you can disable even this console if you are not comfortable to allow this web UI. You can always disable it. For users and roles, here you go. It's the Veeam admin, and then it's the Veeam SO, which is the security officer, right? By the way, any change that you're trying to do from here, because at the moment of installation, we enable the security officer. Anything you're trying to change here with the Veeam admin, which is a host admin really, it's going to require and trigger a request to the security officer. The security officer needs to approve any change happening here, right? So they will be into a queue, and then the security officer needs to log in with the multi-factor authentication, different credentials, and approve those little things, right? For example, changing IP, adding an NTP server, etc., etc. Backup infrastructure, we will see this in another video. This is required to add plugins, like for example the new Veeam version 13. It has agent-based data collection, and then it requires this to create the request, and then we'll have like a period of time where Veeam can remotely trigger the that request, right? Same for service provider console, and same for VRO, but the VRO will come later in the year. So you can even do an infrastructure lockdown in the case that that you have some sort of attack, and then you can trigger, or you can see the updates directly from here as well. Okay, so systems up to date. You can upload a hotfix, see the history of these packages, and just kind of manual settings override from here. Finally, under logs and services, I thought it would be like just not much things, but there are actually very, very interesting things from here. So you have, of course, the services, and you can restart them from here, stop them and start them. Be mindful of what you stop. I think if you stop perhaps the Veeam web service, or the you might lose access into this portal itself, right? So just be mindful of what you're stopping and rebooting. But in any case, this is always good to have over here. Under host configuration, you do have you can restart the server, for example, from here, like a controlled restart of the server itself. There is all of these files that you can always export them, and then later on you will be able to import them with the changes back, right? So the VMNFS, the immutable repo, the guest interaction, and so on and so forth, right? Being one of the most important ones that I think many customers are going to use. For example, the hosts file, right? So the host file is one of those files that we tend to edit, usually due to misconfigurations of DNS, but in any case, sometimes it's just much simpler to add something to the host file than making a huge request, huge change within the whole networking, right? So that you will be able to edit it from here. You just export it and import it. We will see in another video, because that's important for Veeam, for example. Finally, we can see the events from here, who has been log in, log out, and doing things like restarting Linux services, like, for example, I did here, log in, and so on, right? So it's a very good list to see what's happening. And by the way, you can export this into configuration. So that is good. And then finally, it's asking where to save it, and it's CSV, not JSON. And then finally, you just have the logs, which this is the logs that you can send to technical support, right? So you create a super bundle and you download the super bundle. So that is the host management as a host admin. The security officer, I'm not going to show it because it's super simple portal. It's just you log in as a security officer with the user and password and the multi-factor authentication, and then you will have a queue of requests that you need to approve, or you can reject them, of course, if you don't know who is triggering those requests, or you can think that, okay, maybe this admin is being compromised. Yeah, that is everything for today. That is Veeam Software Appliance version 13. I think it's very, very, very exciting. The opportunity here is huge. There is many things that have changed, things that are now extremely simple, like deploying the appliance, super secure, like the multi-factor authentication, absolutely everywhere. Things like it comes already with a disk itself, right? Within a backup repository, you can start triggering backups right away, which of course I'd recommend to look for another, to deploy another repository. But in any case, it just works, right, as per usual. And we have not even looked at the Windows console. We will see that on another video because I can understand that perhaps the web UI, it might look well, not as complete, as fully feature rich as the usual console that we are used to, but all of those features that they might not be on the web console, they are still on the Windows client, right? You can still download the Windows client, which, by the way, it has been absolutely revamped. Everything, colors, icons, everything. And if you install that client and connect to a Veeam Backup and Replication version 13, all of those features are still there, right? All of those old features that you love, like, for example, let's put one example, the Veeam Backup for AWS, right? Or Veeam Backup for Azure Appliances. You can, with the new versions, by the way, you can deploy them from the Veeam Backup and Replication, the Windows console, right? And we are going to see that on another video. But for now, I hope you really like this video. If that's so, yes, leave some comments here. If you are trying this Veeam Software Appliance version 13, leave a comment. Maybe leave some feedback if you like. And yeah, this was absolutely fantastic. I really had a good time doing this video, installing version 13, and well, it's now my default backup replication server. I'm going to start moving slowly but surely all my backup jobs from one server to the other. But first, I will need to add the repositories and the proxies, and I will show you that into another video. So until then, thank you so much for watching, and see you in another video. Bye.